Section 442 is the American Union Jobs Program. This is the mechanics of how exactly universal basic income works. Again, this was not enough to just say we would like to have universal basic income. We need a very specific plan and proposal, and that's what's in this section. It adds a new subchapter to Social Security, which is an appropriate place because universal basic income is a Social Security. And we got two sections that we're adding. Section 1398 is definitions. I'm going to share my screen here. Once again, most of these definitions are pretty standard. I want to clarify that adult is any adult or an emancipated minor. So if you're 16 and you've left home, then you've been legally emancipated, then you start collecting your universal basic income at the adult rate. American Union job, again, we spell out exactly how unconditional it is. That this payments may not be withheld for any reason, including but not limited to age, ancestry, arrest record, bankruptcy, criminal conviction, debt, or other liability, gender, geographic location, income, marital status, occupation, race, religion, or sexual orientation. Universal basic income is universal and unconditional. Basic wage starts at $15,600 a year. And then children's wage is 1/3 of that. Again, we reiterate the job duties of Americans, the 5 listed in the preamble of the Constitution. And the people who receive this program are either adults, American citizens, parent or legal guardian of a child, or a child who is a beneficiary because their parents have chosen to divert some money into their account. And so those are the basic definitions. And then the second part of this section is a new section 1398B. This is the American Union Jobs Program. It is established within the Social Security Administration, and the responsibilities of the Deputy Commissioner are pretty basic, hiring rules, regulations, agreements. Paragraph 4 is enrolling every citizen into the American Union Jobs Program. So again, every citizen and getting basic information, name, contact information, date and place of birth, Social Security number, digital treasury account information, because that's how American Union jobs are paid. Frequency of payments, depending on your situation, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, may be better or worse for you to receive your $15,600 a year. All right, we got paragraph 5 is the amount that you're going to calculate to get. So if you're an adult, it's $15,600 a year, plus if you're a parent or legal guardian of a child or children, the sum of all payments that you're entitled to under subsection E, which we'll get to in a minute. Or if you're a child and your parents are diverting some money into your account, Treasury will make those payments. So paragraph 6 here, providing the Secretary the list of adults and children annually at the end of the fiscal year. This is going to come up again. This is the voluntary value sharing provision on briefly with the Treasury dollar bills, and we'll talk about more when we get to the value added tax next week. Again, they're responsible for preventing fraud and abuse, obtaining information on a website, reminding Americans of their voluntary job duties. Again, and then the American Union Jobs Program doesn't make you an employee. You're an independent contractor charged with making a better America, adding value in whatever way you see fit. It's entirely up to you. Subsection D is how the basic wage is calculated, and it is indexed for inflation starting in 2025. So we've got sort of a hold harmless kind of thing here. All right. This is my quick mock-up here. So in 2025, this is how they'll calculate what the new basic wage will be. One way would be to just multiply it times the rate of inflation as of August 2024, what the rate of inflation was for the previous months. And you could just multiply that out and then round it up to the nearest $5. That's what Roman 1 allows for. We can also calculate what is the poverty line, and will the basic wage still be enough to keep every American above the poverty line by the end of the next calendar year, after a full year. And so in this scenario where we're at high inflation now, things start to settle down. And then in 2024, when value-added tax, 12% value-added tax goes into effect, along with the carbon fees and pollution fees, there'll be a one-time bump in prices. And so if you figure 15% in that 1 year, you calculate out what the poverty line will be for the upcoming year and subtract what you calculated in Roman 1. And if it's more, if it's a positive number, then that would be the greater number to increase the basic wage by. Now, when we have a year of deflation, we're in a period of inflation right now because of supply chain and problems and things like that. And so if it goes the other way, as things get back to normal, then if prices fall, 0 is the hold harmless. That would be the greater of. That's how the inflation is calculated, based on the consumer price index, not the consumer wage index. When prices go up, then basic income goes up as well. Section E is intern's wage. Again, children are our interns. They are the ones that we're raising to be productive American citizens. And so they get paid at a one-third rate. And here's how it's divided up. By default, paragraph 1, that $100 a week is distributed evenly between both parents. So $50 in dad's account, $50 in mom's account, whatever. That's how it goes by default. If the parents want to work out a different arrangement, say, for whatever reason, as long as they both agree, that percentage can be changed. It can go all to one parent, 75% to one parent, whatever. So we allows for that. If they want to put some of this money aside so that the child has a nest egg when they become adult, they can direct that some percentage of it gets put into their digital treasury account, as long as they both agree. And then paragraph 4 is, well, what happens if the parents don't agree? And the default of 50-50 isn't an equitable distribution. And so in this case, either parent or legal guardian can ask that the payment be divided by pursuant to a court order by the days of residential responsibility each year. So if the kids are with mom 75% of the time and they're with dad 25% of the time, then that's how the children's dividends would be split, 75-25, based on the court order. So that's how that's addressed. Subsection F, payments under this section. People ask, does this stack with other benefit programs? And so when it comes to Social Security and disability, it stacks. These payments are not considered substantial gainful activity that would otherwise disqualify you. They are not considered wages for the purpose of the Social Security program. And in addition, the Social Security Administration will also protect these payments from garnishment. Again, universal basic income is unconditional. Everyone gets it. And that's it. For appropriations, the Social Security Administration is a very efficient organization, has very low administrative costs. You're estimating that they're going to be about 1/4% of the annual cost. And so 1% of the value-added tax is going to go to fund these costs. 1% of the VAT will go to the Social Security Administration to administer this program, and then repay any of the startup costs over 10 years. Now, so the obvious question is, 1/4 of what? What is the amount that we're going to spend on universal basic income? And we estimate that there's going to be 249 million adults and 71 million children enrolled in this program when it starts up. That means a little less than $4.25 trillion will be issued as treasury dollar bills, equally to everyone. Half of that will then be clawed back through new taxes, the value added tax and pollution fees, as well as a few other small cuts. And as we talked about with treasury dollar bills, that's going to leave us with a net addition of about $2 trillion in the economy each year, added at the bottom, so that we have a real trickle up economy that ends poverty and takes the pressure off the Federal Reserve to keep interest rates so low, to encourage people to borrow money and add it to the economy. We're going to create it directly and give everyone an equal share. I think that pretty much concludes my testimony for section 442, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Fantastic. Yes, we have some messages in the chat. I'm going to go through and love to have your response. So TC said, did you say that pay starts at $15,000 a year?
Yes, $15,600 a year for adults, 1/3 of that for children.
Yes. And then the next thing he asked was, is that on top of UBI? And I think this kind of points at a problem with the lingo of, is the American Jobs Program, is that the name of the Universal Basic Income Program, or are those two
that is
things?
that is the name of the Universal Basic Income Program. It's the American Union Jobs Program, to remind every American that we all have duties to each other, that it's our job to establish justice and so forth. And that's what your $300 a week is for, is go be a good American, however you see fit.
Okay, so that is the framing of it, that this isn't like a traditional jobs program where you are employed by the government to work on infrastructure. This is, the government is paying you to be a good American according to the principles of the Constitution.
Yes, you're not an employee, you're an independent contractor.
Yes, but it is still unconditional.
Yes.
So the courts can't take it away from you. So that's okay. So that's a really important point. TC then said $15,600 is less than I get for Social Security, and even living simply, I barely get by.
This is a national poverty line, and people who choose to live in places with high cost of living, then this may not be enough to meet their basic needs living on their own. They have options of sharing, having roommates and pooling the expenses and sharing costs and kind of things, or moving to a part of the country with a lower cost of living. Those are because your American Union job is attached to you, you can move around the country wherever you want and know that wherever you stop, you're guaranteed $300 a week to help you meet your basic expenses. But yes, I totally acknowledge that $15,000 a year in New York City or something like that for one person to meet their basic needs. But if they choose to live there instead of someplace where they could meet their basic needs, then they're accepting responsibility for making up the difference.
The American Jobs Program stacks with Social Security insurance, correct? So
yes,
for TC specifically, he would get this $15,600 a year on top of the Social Security he's already receiving. TC says, so I can work for extra dollars? And I think the short answer to that question is yes.
The short answer is yes. It's unconditional, and so it's a safety floor. You can use capitalism to build as high as you want from that floor.
Fantastic. And then I have a few questions. So you had this whole section about parents divvying up the payments in different ways. Is that, to me, that seems like an unnecessary added feature that just increases administrative overhead, that we'd be better off just keeping it simpler and allowing them to manage their own finances.
I'm sorry, did you say allowing the children to manage their own finances?
No, the parents. So I think the court order makes sense where if you have an uneven. So if we're talking about a pair of parents and how they divvy up the children's universal basic income, I understand the reason to allow court orders to have unequal amounts given to each parent when they're unequal amounts of custody given to each parent, I think that makes sense. But does it make sense to also just have that as a custom feature that parents can apply to the administration and just pick and choose their different amounts rather than just saying this is extra administration that we don't need, and parents that are together, we can allow them to just organize their own finances and exchange money back and forth. This is a just extra administrative cost that we don't need. That's what it feels like to me. It feels like extra administration that isn't needed. Do you have a response?
Sure. We'll just pull that section back up. We're in agreement. You support paragraph 1, which is just dividing it equally between the parents, and paragraph 4, which is if there's a court order, make that, that follow the court order. And how about paragraph 3, allowing parents who, maybe don't need this extra $100 a week, allowing it to put it in their children's account automatically.
That's a good point, because the children's treasury account is given to them upon being born, U.S. citizen, correct?
Is assigned to them on birth, yes.
Is assigned to them on birth. Why? Okay, so
As soon as they become an American citizen, they get
Right.
a personal U.S.
that is
treasury.
in the child's digital treasury account. Are the parents, is the parents able to access money that is in a child's treasury account? Their child's
The legislation is vague on this. This is something that would be developed through rules.
Okay, because I think in my head, I would almost default to just putting it in the child's digital treasury account and then just having the rules around how parents are allowed to access that money. And not necessarily, I think that is a simpler, more straightforward approach that just gives the power to the parents to make that decision, but ultimately has that initial protection for the children, and for that money to make sure that it is going to the children first and foremost, and then from there making those decisions how. So at that point, then you wouldn't even need this thing where it is divided equally among the parents. I would actually almost disagree with that then, with subsection 1, and say that it should just go straight into the children's treasury account.
And so my interpretation of this would be more along the lines of, no, the parents can't touch the children's account. It's the children's account. And so that's why the UBI payment goes to the parents. And at some point, as the child matures, 12 or whatever, they could get access to their account or something along those lines and be able to start spending it and using it however they want. But yeah, it's not. I think I've heard you say that children aren't property, and so accounts assigned to children not be the adults' property by default. So the last one, paragraph 2, is about allowing parents to agree to assign a different percentage. So, for example, parents split up, and when one parent has the kids, there's no court order or anything yet. There's no divorce decree or anything yet. But they could agree that, okay, the parent with the kids should get all of the children's benefits. And because it's by unanimous agreement, a very, very straightforward change to make in the Social Security Administration, because there's not any judgment around it. It's just checking a box. So I hope that answers your questions.
This only applies to American citizens. It does not apply to permanent residents or people of any other kind of citizenship status?
That's correct. It only applies to American citizens. The one exception to that would be if a child who is an American citizen, if they're one or both of their parents are non-citizens, residents, whatever, that parent would receive half of the children's dividend. Remember, in the Treasury dollar bills, we talked about these B2 accounts will be set up for parents of citizens who aren't citizens themselves. So that's the one exception. I want to say that universal basic income benefits everyone, even if it doesn't directly go to citizens. The benefits of living in a society that is addressing wealth inequality, that is reducing crime, that where there is more money circulating around the economy for, immigrants are frequently entrepreneurs. They come here and want to start businesses. And so here's a way to encourage that by making sure the people around them have money to support their business. So even if it doesn't go to them directly, it will benefit them indirectly.
And I just want to clarify something on the math here. So children get $100 a week, correct?
Correct.
If you have a child who was born on American soil, so they are a citizen, but both of their parents are non-citizens, is it $50 to each parent or $25 to each parent?
$50 to each parent.
Okay, so it's still the
$100
full
what you
amount.
asked.
You
Yes.
said half, assuming the two-parent situation. Okay, and is the text generalized to consider other types of parenting situations, such as having 3 co-parents or 4 co-parents? Are those cases also covered by the text?
Yeah. So you'll see it specifically says payment shall be divided equally among the parents or legal guardians. Doesn't
Okay.
say half. It's just equally, and it can be unequally in any ways, and then divided again based on results. So there's nothing in here that says specifically 2 parents exactly.
Oh, fantastic.